Welcome to this short video, bonus topic 2. I've decided to do a series of short videos presenting specific aspects that don't really get thoroughly covered in the various sessions. These are important topics that I felt it was worthwhile doing a short one. So this one, topic 2, I titled Listening to Your Subconscious. So let's go over to my PowerPoint and take a look at it. So listening to your subconscious. So I'm going to, over here, I'm going to break this into 4 sub-areas. I'm going to talk a bit about the subconscious realm. I see it as a realm. It's kind of similar to our day-to-day world, but it isn't. It has different rules and different mandates, but it's very similar. For a while I studied Aboriginal healing techniques, and one of the techniques was dreaming. So you would dream. And it's not really a dream, it's more like an experience. You would go into another realm in which you would try to affect positive outcomes. And this other realm was just like this realm, except it had different rules and different things. So your subconscious is like that. So we really want to discuss this a lot. So I want to present one little aspect on that. And then your subconscious will call you, will want to reach out to you, will want to communicate to you. So the trick is recognizing when your subconscious is talking to you and when it's just monkey brain talk. So when you just have a busy brain that's just bopping around. And I believe that does happen. Sometimes you just have things bopping around your head for no particular reason. But there are times, I think most of the times, there are specific reaching contacts with your subconscious. We won't talk about the greater subconscious and reaching out beyond that. It's kind of beyond the scope of this, but maybe at some point. Then I'd like to take a look at a few of the different types of ways the subconscious can reach out to you and interact with you. There are probably many, but I'll just sort of look at a few of them. Okay. And we'll look at a few examples. Okay, as I've been going on and on about, our conscious mind is just a pinpoint, is a focal point of our total reality. And the estimate is that it's less than 10% of what's going on in your reality is captured in your conscious mind. And that's where we can remember what happened yesterday and the day before and years ago, and we can apply logic and critical thinking to that 10% of our reality. And, most people, a lot of people, live in that 10% and never go beyond that. And they think that affecting change in their reality is really about affecting change in that 10% of their consciousness. But since you're in this course, that it's greater than that. And the overall 100% of you, 90% of that is governed by stuff you don't consciously watch and see. It's aware. It is a different kind of awareness. It's where we have all our beliefs, our emotions, our habits, our values, which we've been talking about a little bit. And in your subconscious, the overall goal of subconscious is really to nurture, protect, and to give you everything you want. It does share your long-term memory, but the long-term memory of the subconscious is different because it also contains not just the information, but it contains all the meanings and all of the outcomes as well. and is connected to, of course, our imagination. And some people like to call it your intuition. And I think that that may be the linking point between your conscious realm and your subconscious, is this thing called the intuition. So when your subconscious calls, why would it call? Why would it be trying to get your attention? Well, if you recall back when we were talking about setting up your 3 wishes, your subconscious now knows that you have the wishes that you've made. So it's always going to be saying to you, hey, Steve, is this what you want? Or is this closer to what you want? Or, hey, look at this. This may be exactly what you want. So your subconscious is going to be verifying with you consciously. The other thing the subconscious does, which I think is really, really important, is before your subconscious will initiate anything, your subconscious will give you that millimeter of opportunity to say yes or no. Your subconscious will always present it to you and say, look, if you say nothing, I will do this. It's kind of like that, I think they call it negative advertising, where you would get a letter in the mail saying that your service, your internet service is going to be adding these features at this additional cost. And if you don't say anything, this will happen and your bill will go up by $50 next month. This negative kind of advertising is really the way the subconscious works. The subconscious says, hey, Steve, I'm thinking that this is probably what we're going to do next. Now, if you want me to do this, just go along with me. If you don't want me to do this, please say so now. So it will give you that little window of opportunity. Most people are not aware when the subconscious taps you on the shoulder and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do now. Do you want me to do it? Yes or no? No response means yes. You have to consciously say no. This gets a little bit laborious. Sometimes if you have some material to work through, and the subconscious is visibly showing you a lot of stuff because you got a lot of work to do, it can get tiring. It really can, where your subconscious is like a little child that wants to play all the time, or your puppy dog that wants to constantly play fetch the stick. Your subconscious will be saying, is this what you want? Yes or no? Is this what you want? Yes or no? And this could go on, which will seem like forever. And then all of a sudden, it's done. So what are the types of things that the subconscious is doing? Well, here's an interesting website I found about the subconscious. And I kind of like most of these. I just quickly whip through them. Some of the things about the subconscious is that it is always awake. It never sleeps. 24/7, subconscious is happening. It's keeping you alive. And the subconscious records and remembers everything. Now, not necessarily the way you remember it, but it will record everything. And we've been practicing recalling frames, and that you may get a frame that is fairly sparse and not full of information. But if you query it and really take a time and meditate on it, you can fill up all of the information about that frame. One of the roles of the subconscious is keeping you from being overwhelmed. I've often heard different meditation leaders and instructors and masters say that if you could see this reality as it really was, it would be overwhelmed. And maybe some of you that have taken some kind of psychedelic know the feeling of being overwhelmed. It's a lot of data. So we can't handle it. So the subconscious allows us to just look at 10%. It handles the 100%. And we don't have to be overwhelmed with all that information. The subconscious is habitual. This is one thing that you will notice when you try to make changes with your subconscious, is that it's addicted to things. So it will repeat things and repeat things and repeat things. And this is one of the reasons I think we're very susceptible to addictions, is that it's the way the subconscious works. And every time you repeat something, it gets more and more grounded in your timeline. The subconscious will read what you say literally. It doesn't make any assumptions that, oh, you really meant this. If you say, I don't want to be poor, the subconscious will read, I want to be poor. Because it will assume that if you don't want to be poor, the first thing you got to do is be it. So it will make you poor and then allow you to not want it. So you have to be very careful with the syntax of how you're communicating with your subconscious, because it's like a 3-year-old or 4-year-old child. It takes it literally. On the other hand, the subconscious doesn't really have a language of its own. It's more an environment, an experience, a feeling. There really isn't a separate language. It will use whatever you use to communicate with you, which is one of the reasons why you can travel around and experience things with different people. And I've had this experience where you go into a different country, a completely different language, completely different culture, and you can immediately communicate with everybody, and they can recognize your intent. This one here, the subconscious may speak to you in dreams. I kind of agree with that, but it's more, I think, the subconscious is trying to speak to you all the time. Now, if you get dreams, it may be a special area. Some people don't get a lot of dreams, some people do. But one of the things I want to just note here is that when you are meditating, you can slip into a dream. And this is what is, that's not bad, that's okay. It's recognizing that you are in a dream and then coming out of it and continuing with your meditation. That's the act of meditating. So this dream state can be while you're awake. It isn't necessarily while you're sleeping. It can be just when you're contemplating. This is an important one here. The subconscious is not logical, but it's very emotional. It responds to your emotional state. The stronger your emotions, the more the subconscious believes that you need or want something. So if you put a lot of emotional focus on something, your subconscious will try to get it for you immediately. Right? So the emotional thing, that scale from 1 to 5 thing that I mentioned, this is why you really have to be attentive to whether you're 3 in the balance center or whether you're a 1 or 2 in the not happy or the 4 or 5 happy. Where are you in that mental state reality thing? So the intensity is very important. And here's one I like. The subconscious is doing a million things at once. It's doing everything that's keeping you functional, alive, and safe. So it's very, very busy. And it does it automagically. And the final one that they have here, which is kind of interesting, the subconscious is more powerful than your conscious mind. And I think I've been trying to say that it's your subconscious that does everything. So here's another website I found that was kind of interesting. They call it subliminal messaging, but it really is how do messages get through to you one way or the other. So this can be a two-way thing. This could be your subconscious communicating to you, or it could be your environment communicating with your subconscious. And these are similar to the 6 modes of thinking. However, there's a few little differences. There's the auditory, there's the visual, and there's the olfactory, smelling, and there's the gustatory, the taste. But then the tactile one is a little bit different. They've kind of broken that up, and they added 2 other ones in here. This vestibular balance thing that can happen, and the proprioception that I mentioned in a previous presentation. In the balance thing, in the vestibular, sometimes you can feel a sense of being really centered and balanced and comfortable. And other times you could feel like you're going to fall down and off balance. To me, that is a way that your subconscious can talk to you. And the outside world can affect you in that way. If something's not quite right with you, it can make you feel what? Off balance. The proprioception one is very interesting too. The sense of being very, very metabolically balanced and comfortable. Sometimes, I might talk about this at some point, you will do an exercise of finding a place in the room where you feel 100% balanced and safe. So it's a special location. Where in a room do you need to be? And this could be an actual physical room, or it could be an imaginary room. So those two are kind of interesting. Those could be lumped into the tactile physical sensation. And of course, what's missing from here is words. Now, you could lump words into symbols. Those auditory words act in a very specific way, and visual words act in a very specific way. So language, in our thing, in terms of how we think, is a separate commodity. Okay, so let's look at some examples. The one I like, and I think is probably the most common, is the day-to-day synchronicity. I think of the way that Rose and I decided to do these series of presentations. I think it took a total of about 1 or 2 minutes for us to decide to do it. It was very, very almost instantaneous. We both wanted to achieve something. We both felt that we could work together. And this wasn't a long, drawn-out process. One of the features of very successful people is they recognize synchronicity and they don't take a long time reacting to it. If something is in sync, you should feel it. You should get that proprioception and that vestibular feeling it's in balance. All the indicators should tell you that this is the way to go. Sometimes I get a very physical feeling as if I'm pushing against something if it's not the right decision. It's a very physical pressing. And other times I feel a very open, flowing feeling if it's the right kind of thing. So watch for this synchronicity. And you can see here the puppy dogs who are all looking in the same direction. It's all around us all the time. This is the law of attraction. Another way that the subconscious might call us and communicate with us is when we are sitting quiet and just resting. When we are not communicating and transmitting, that's when the subconscious can transmit to us. So in other words, in order to receive a call or information, you need to be receptive. You need to be quiet. You can't listen and talk at the same time. Most people can't anyway. So these periods where you're being very quiet, sitting and meditating, there's something, I've referred to it already, called bubbling up. So when your thoughts come to you, the reason I want you to acknowledge them and politely let them go is because some of these can be very important messages from your subconscious. If you're meditating, you don't want to hang on to them, you just want to let them go. And at the end of your meditation, when you're finished, then you can just sit there quietly, and the impressions that are important to you, your subconscious will revisit them. They'll come back to you, and it will be kind of like, oh, do you remember you were meditating? I showed you this image or this frame. Well, I'd really like you to think about it some more, and here's some more information about it. Okay. Now, there is a whole realm of things, and I like to talk about them as oracles. The Eastern thing called the I Ching or I Ching, and I'll be giving some more information on this. It looks at the synchronicity of all the elements in nature: fire, earth, the lake, heaven, waters and rain, mountains, the thunder, the wind. And it puts these in a particular, just like the synchronicity of a clock. So think of it as each person having this gears or connection or portals. And everything else and everyone else in your reality has the same kind of gearbox or connectability thing. And they can click together. And when these interconnections between you and your environment, and call it the realms that you live in, when these all connect in certain ways, then it is very much almost predictable what the outcome would come. Look up I Ching, I space CHING, and there's even online versions of it that you can play. Believe it or not, the online versions that you basically hit the button and it will give you an I Ching reading are extremely interesting. Another version of this, the oracle cards that people use, or the tarot. This is, you mix up the cards, focus on them, and then select a series of cards. And the synchronicity will make it. Now, what's the bottom rule here? The bottom rule here is that in everything you do, you are a microcosm of your reality. You're a prism. You are, in fact, like a hologram. And every piece of you reflects the whole. So anything you do, even if it appears to be random, will reflect the synchronicity of your state of mind. So with the I Ching, for instance, you throw 3 coins several times, and then depending on the pattern, it will point to one of these, what they call hexagrams. It looks random, but you have to say to yourself, is life random, or does it only appear to be random? If we're only seeing our reality with the 10% of our consciousness, and there's the other 90%, we can't see that. So what may appear to be random and just a fluky thing will actually be in the cards, be part of the synchronicity of your life. I honestly believe that there were many times in my life that I have been guided, or in some way almost like bumper cars. I almost didn't have any other choice, but I had to follow the path, the way. Okay, so that's pretty much a quick little chit-chat for when the subconscious calls. I hope you like that. I'll probably do a few more on the subconscious because it really is. So we have our frames, which is the language, and then we have the subconscious, which is the part of you that we want to become in contact with. You want to be in harmony and at peace with your subconscious. So let's call that a day, and we will see you in the sessions.